Musician's Corner on Timeless and Irish with Billy Donegan.
Today I'm joined by Clare Horgan from Ballinaskelligs, who are going to Musician's Corner. Clare?
Thank you very much, it's great to be here.
I say Ballinaskelligs, but you weren't actually born in Ballinaskelligs.
No, I was born in a place called Spuncon, Waterville, which is just outside the village of Waterville, and I went all around the world and then ended up in Ballinaskelligs about 6 miles away.
And tell us how you got started in the music, or when you got started in the music.
I suppose I can't really ever remember a time when I wasn't singing or I wasn't playing music, and my mother, Mary Horgan, she played in the local church and the organ. She played the piano, she played whistle, and anything she'd learn, she'd then go off and she'd teach as many people as she'd meet. And she used to bring us all to the Flacyoles, and in the days when there was no restrictions on numbers of people in the car, she would take half the village as well up to places as far-flung as Derry and Donegal and Lickshna and places like that. So we ended up playing music, immersed in it really growing up.
And how did you get on at the competitions?
Well, that was it, you see. I did very well in the under-11s. I came fourth, and that was one of my sort of claims to fame in the Flackyole. And then I kind of gave it all up, the Shannon singing. I thought it wasn't very cool at all. So it took me a while. I went back over to Dingle then when I was in my early 20s, and traditional Irish music was more than cool. So I adopted it back again.
Now you sing everything from Shannos to jazz, so a very wide repertoire. How do you manage that?
Much to the consternation of anyone who tries to help me with marketing, yeah, I've been kind of straddling different genres. So I started off singing traditional Irish stuff, and then my mother was into music theatre as well. We used to have this Tops of the Town thing that I'm sure you're familiar with as well, Billy. But and then from there, somewhere along the way, I got really hooked on the jazz thing. And after I qualified as a teacher and an actress, I decided to go off on another tangent and went over to England, and I studied jazz, pure jazz. So that's where I ended up in my mid-30s. And then fate brought me home for 6 months, and that was almost 16 years ago. So since then, I've been I sang a lot of jazz when I arrived in Dingle. I was there a couple of years. And then I came home to sing at the funeral of a wonderful Shannon singer in Ballinaskelligs, and I made the wrong assumption that, you know, there was many, many more Shannon singers left in the area, and sadly she was the last one really living in the area at the time. Now we're lucky that we have a few more now, but and I made the decision really to try and revisit the songs I'd known as a child and learn a few more. And I kind of fell in love with the songs again and the area, and I'd been abroad for many years, so I was kind of homesick as well, and it was great to come home.
Now tell us, what's the first song you're going to sing for us today?
So the first song is a song that was written by a very young girl at the time. She's still a lot younger than me, but she's a girl from Glasgow, I gather. Her name is Kerry Polworth. She's a Scottish girl. It's called Follow the Heron. And it's a song I learned while I was on a retreat in Tara and Guthrie, thanks to the Kerry County Council for that, a number of years ago. And I set about an aim of learning certain songs, and this was the one that I came away with the most. It was in a beautiful place with a gorgeous lake called Anna-McCarrig, and I saw a heron there while I was learning it, and it was really lovely. But for me, it has great resonance for anybody who's been through any kind of grief, and especially the last year and a half, which has been punishing for everybody, which talks about, you know, stoking our fears in darkness, and how, well, the summer has finally arrived. The seeds of the summer have spoken, and I feel like it's going to be a very good summer, and we're going to get out of the pandemic eventually. The back of the winter is broken, the light lingers long by the door. The seeds of the summer have spoken in garlands that bloom on the shore. By night and day we'll sport and we'll play and delight as the dawn dances over the bay. Sleep blows the breath of the morning
follow the heron home. So long do we sing of the salmon and the snow-scented sounds of our home, while the north wind delivers its sermon of ice and salt water and stone. By night and day we'll sport and we'll play and delight as the dawn dances over the bay. Sleep blows the breath of the morning away, and we follow the heron home. In darkness we cradle our sorrow, stoke all our fires with fears, while those bones that lie empty and hollow are ready for gladness to cheer. By night and day we'll sport and we'll play and delight as the dawn dances over the bay. Sleep blows the breath of the morning away, and we follow the heron home. By night and day we'll sport and we'll play and delight as the dawn dances over the bay. Sleep blows the breath of the morning away, and we follow the heron home.
The song is called Follow the Heron, and our singer is our guest today, Clare Horgan. So Clare, before the pandemic struck, you were doing very well in America.
Well, yeah, I've sort of been flirting with different genre and flirting with different kind of, I suppose, places, bases, and I really got drawn towards the States. I went there on a holiday a number of years ago, and I was just greeted with such welcome in Boston. We've got a lot of cousins there, the Horgans from Tralee, and they would be over in Massachusetts. And also from a Clonakilty man called Brian Donegan, who's a major force to be reckoned with over in Boston. He runs he's a bit like the equivalent to you, but in Boston. He's a TV and radio, and a great singer himself, and he welcomed me hugely there. So on the back of that, I started to visit America, and then eventually I won a Culture Ireland award to go across and do a tour. And it was really taking off, and I was about to finish. I was about to do a tour in Massachusetts and then a tour in Alaska, and the whole thing had to be shelved. I managed to do one gig, and then I was on the flight home on the 17th of March with my tail between my legs.
And that's something you, I presume, intend to resume as soon as we're all free again.
I'd absolutely love to, but unfortunately, like the visa was very costly, and it took a lot of funding applications and visa applications and creating itineraries and all of that. You know, I will definitely do it, but I'll have to raise some dollars in order to secure that, really. So we're looking at 2021, 2022, really into 2023 when I'll go back.
Speaking of America, that leads us into our next song that you're going to sing for us. This one is Tennessee Waltz. Did you visit Tennessee at all when you were over there?
Unfortunately, the only place I've been in the States are New York, Massachusetts. I feel mentally like I've been to Alaska, but I haven't. New Orleans and Baton Rouge, but I've got lots of friends in Jackson, Mississippi, and I've met a good few people from Tennessee. There was a lady that lived in Banaskelligs for a while, and she was a lovely lady. But I am determined to get to Tennessee because of this lovely song that Pee Wee King wrote many years ago. Dancing with my darling to the Tennessee waltz, when an old friend I happened to see. I introduced her to my darling, and while they were dancing,
from me. I remember the night and the Tennessee waltz. Only you know how much I had lost. Yes, I lost my little darling on the night that they were playing that beautiful Tennessee waltz. Now I wonder how a dance like the Tennessee waltz could have broken my heart so complete. And I couldn't blame my darling, for who could have fallen in love with my baby so sweet. I remember the night and the Tennessee waltz. Wish I'd known then how much I had lost. I lost my little darling on the night that they were playing that beautiful Tennessee waltz. He goes dancing in the distance to the Tennessee waltz. I feel like I'm falling apart. It's stronger than whiskey and it's deeper than sorrow, the darkness he left in my heart. I remember the night and the Tennessee waltz. Wish I'd known then how much I had lost. Oh, I lost my little darling on the night that they were playing that beautiful Tennessee waltz. Yes, I lost my little darling on the night that they were playing that beautiful Tennessee waltz.
So there we go, a Tennessee Waltz there from our guest today, Clare Horgan. Now, Clare, you've released a number of albums.
I have, yeah. I actually released an album in 2006, in 2007 in Dingle, and it was one that I had pre-recorded in London and in Belfast, and I finally saw the light of day when I moved home, and by home I mean Ireland, but I moved to Dingle. It's called The Stolen Child, and that is it's a mixture of jazz and blues with 2 Shanos tracks on it. And it's actually a combination of 3 separate recordings, but I won an award over in Leeds to work with my choice of musicians in studio, and I got to work with the Ronnie Scott Quartet over there, a great jazz quartet, so former members of the Ronnie Scott Quartet. So it's really, really lovely. It features the Boys of Bornisroida and a song called Orana Lower, the Song of the Books by Tomás O'Sullivan, and a lot of jazz stuff as well, like The Wee Small Hours of the Morning. So the other CD came about because of a man in Ballinskellies called Willie Joe Cronin, and he was very fond of a song called The Boatman of Art Cost, which I wasn't aware of, and he came in with the words, I learnt it, and as a kind of a tribute to him, I said I'd go in and record the song. And of course I then realised, being in the studio, it had been so long since I'd been in a studio that I couldn't leave, and I ended up recording a 6-track, I suppose you'd call it an EP really, and that is got a lovely song called The Road from Killorglin to Carsavine, which was written by Jim Budsugro from Mountain Stage, and thanks to Billy Donegan, who single-handedly it has, done very well as sales. It's been absolutely wonderful. Now people don't even say hello to me, they just shout out the name of the song, The Road or The Boatman.
Now, is there anyone you would like to say hello to or to thank today?
Well, John was fantastic today. He accompanied me. It's our first time meeting each other in, nearly 2 years. It feels like forever. We did a lot of gigs in the past together. I really missed him. He's a great musician. So John Brown, and we did a lot of gigs together in Dingle and back in Ballinskelligs and various places. So that's John Brown. Also, I'd love to say hello to the American Horgans, to Margaret Horgan and to Joan Horgan, both my aunties and all my cousins over there. Brian O'Donovan as well in WGBH, and Emma Donnellan. They're my Boston gang. And just all the people who've been very helpful to me in Bannaskelligs, Micheál Line, and so many people are really helpful with the Irish and that kind of thing as well. And Culture Ireland and Kerry County Council for their support in the past.
Clare, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Musician's Corner on Timeless and Irish with Billy Donegan.